Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Kim and I am She from shemadeknits. Today's video is the long-awaited video tutorial of my crochet cotton hair towel pattern. I'm really excited to finally be sitting down and doing this. One thing I want to mention before we get started is that I do have the written pattern with in-depth step-by-step photos and instructions on my Etsy shop. It's in PDF form and is an instant download. The link for that will be right down below. Alternatively, if you just want to go onto Etsy right now and type in shemadeknits, you will find my Etsy shop and all of my patterns are listed there with, of course, the cotton hair towel pattern as well. So with all of that being said, let's just get right into it. First thing we will go over is materials. So to start, you will of course need yarn. The amount, it really depends on your tension, but I found that approximately 177 grams, 6.25 ounces. The yarn that I like to use is the Bernat Handicrafter 100% cotton yarn. I find it to be the perfect yarn for this project. It's affordable, very absorbent, and it gets softer and softer over time as you use the towel. Another option is Lily Sugar and Cream. It's very, very similar in texture and in weight. So if that's what you have available to you, you can definitely use that. Next, you will need a 5mm crochet hook. The one that I am currently using is Clover Amour. I do find it to be the most comfortable. That's my preference, but you can use any 5mm crochet hook that you have or that you love. You will also need a hair elastic. This doesn't have to be anything expensive. My one suggestion is just stretch it out a couple of times, make sure that it's not going to just snap, and you're good to go. I got this one as well as all of the other ones that I've used from the Dollarama. You will also need a button. I suggest going for a plastic button. Metal is also okay, but you do just need to keep in mind that it could potentially rust over time, being in contact with water so often. The same thing goes for wood. I would not recommend wood because it will soften over time because of its exposure to water, and it could potentially break. My preference, my suggestion is to go for a good plastic button. You will also need a pair of scissors, a measuring tape, which is optional, a darning needle, one that you would use to weave in your ends. The second needle you will want is one that is smaller. You want it to be able to fit through the hole of your button. So that'll be for later on to attach the button to the top of the hair towel. You can use the same color thread as your yarn. Alternatively, you can also use your yarn and just separate the strands, which I will show you later on. That is my preferred method, but we'll see what works later. Lastly, you'll need a bunch of stitch markers. Specifically 15 would be ideal. That way you can mark every single part that we are going through in each section, so you can easily know exactly where you are. I do like to use these ones, so it can be stitch markers, it can be pins. As long as it's removable, it can be whatever type you want. It can be plastic, metal, whatever you want. All right, so now that we have all of our materials, we can go ahead and get started. We're going to begin with a magic circle. So the way I like to do this is by placing the yarn over my index and middle finger, hold it with my thumb, begin to wrap the yarn around with my right hand, and then cross it over the initial strand. Then you'll want to take your crochet hook, go under the first one, over the second, pull it under, twist it, and then yarn over with your working yarn and pull through. You can tighten that down, and that's the magic circle. Now we're going to do round one. So round one, you're going to chain one, and you're going to place 9 half double crochets into the circle. So you yarn over, into the circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. So that's 1. That's 2. That's 3. I like to kind of tighten up the circle as I go. 1 more. 9. So now we have our 9 half double crochets in the magic circle. So now we can close the circle. We're going to take the initial tail and pull it tight. That's round 1. For round 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Round 2, we're going to increase in every single stitch, meaning we're going to place 2 half double crochets into every stitch that we just put into our magic circle. So we're starting off round 2 with 9 stitches, and we're going to end round 2 with 18 stitches. So you can see I just put 2 into the first stitch. So here's my second stitch. I'm gonna yarn over, go through it, and do the same thing again. And there you go, now I have 4. So you're gonna do that all the way around. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Be careful that you don't do exactly that. It's very easy to split the yarn by accident, so just take your time, be mindful of it. 13, 14, 15, 16, and then here's the last stitch. So that's 17 and 18. So that was round 2. This is round 1, our 9 half double crochets, and then round 2, we increased in every single stitch, leaving us with 18 stitches. I'm going to pause right here just because I want to give you a few notes before we continue. So we're beginning by doing section 1, which is the increases. We're going to do a 4-row repeat. Each repeat will be divided into individual parts to ensure the appropriate number of stitches is reached per repeat. Each part will require a removable stitch marker to keep track of each part for easier counting. The first row of each part, so each repeat, will be an increase row. The 3 preceding rows, so the 3 rows after that, will be to add length to that part. Each increase row will be increased by 4 stitches. To accomplish this, we will increase in the first stitch, the 2 middle stitches, and the last stitch, with the exception of part 1, which is what we are currently on, because as you know, we just increased in every single stitch. So from this moment forward, we are only going to increase by 4 stitches. So to continue and complete part 1, we are now going to do 3 rows of just half double crochets. So we start by chaining 1. At the beginning of every single row, you're going to chain 1. So now we just do half double crochets as normal, no increases. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Perfect. And you can see it's starting to curl a little bit, so the bottom of the opening. So we're working from the bottom all the way up. So that was round 3. Another exception for part 1 is that it has a total of 5 rows, whereas all of the other parts only have 4 rows. That's solely because row 1 was where we placed all of our stitches into the magic circle. So I am going to do round 4 and round 5 off camera. All we're doing again is just chain 1 and crochet into each stitch as normal. 1 half double crochet in each. I'll meet you back in a moment. Before we move on, you'll just need your first stitch marker. And you're going to place your first stitch marker on the last stitch that you just completed. That's this one right here. So I'm going to place it this way. And this way you can still go into your stitch to do the next round, but it's right there. And this is to indicate the end of part 1. So this is part 1. Another thing that your stitch markers will help you to remember is which side is the right side and which side is the wrong side. So this side is the right side and this is the wrong side. If you have your little bowl here, like the opening of it is facing away from you, your stitch markers should be on the right. The reverse is true when you turn it around. If the opening is facing you, then your stitch markers should be on the left. Another thing is you will only ever begin a new part and do an increase row starting on this side. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's begin part 2. Part 2 is row 6 to row 9. So we're going to begin by chaining 1, turning the work. We're going to start with an increase row. So in this first stitch here, we're going to increase by 1. So we're going to place 2 half double crochets in this stitch. So we have 1 and 2. Now we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 7 stitches. So no increases, just 1 half double crochet into the next 7. In the next 2 stitches, we're going to place 2 half double crochets in each. So we're going to increase in this stitch and we're going to increase in this stitch. So that's 1. Do a second one in that same stitch. That's 2. And then do the exact same thing in the next stitch. That's 1. And that's 2. We're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. So we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 7 stitches, which will then leave you with 1 stitch left. So we have 1 more stitch here. And we're going to do the same thing we did with the first stitch. We're going to increase again in the last stitch. So 1 and 2. So this is what it should be looking like so far. You have 2 stitches in the first stitch, and then 7 regular half double crochets, 2 stitches in the 2 middle stitches, 7 stitches of just 1 half double crochet, and then increase again in the last stitch. So we just increased by 4 stitches in this entire round. So we started this round, we started round 6 with 18 stitches. But now we are ending round 6 with 22 stitches. Row 7, we're going to chain 1 and just place 1 half double crochet into each stitch. So we are going to have, again, a total of 22 stitches. There are no increases in this one. We're just adding length. So that was round 7. Now we're going to do round 8 and then round 9 the exact same way that we just did round 7. I'm going to do the 2 more rows off camera, and I'll meet you back here once I'm done row 9. So I just completed my 9th row. I keep going between the 2, don't I? Sorry about that. Row, round, I'm just using them interchangeably right now. We're going to just place a stitch marker in this last stitch that we just worked. This way we know exactly where part 2 ends. That's the end of part 1, and that's the end of part 2. So now we're going to move on to part 3. We begin by chaining 1, and to begin part 3 / row 10, we're going to increase in the first stitch. Just make sure your stitch marker stays in its place. Stay there. Okay. That's 1. And that's 2. So similarly to the way we started part 2, round 6, we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 9 stitches. So not 7 like in part 2. We're now moving up to 9 stitches. And now we are back at the middle 2 stitches again. So we're going to do the same thing that we did in row 6, and we're going to increase in this one and in this one. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we're going to do the exact same thing that we did in the beginning. We're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 9 stitches, which will leave us with 1 stitch at the end. Again, just like in the first stitch, we're going to increase in the last stitch. One and 2. So we started row 10 with 22 stitches, and now we end row 10 with 26 stitches. Now we'll move on to row 11. So row 11, 12, and 13 are going to be just regular 1 half double crochet into each stitch. Again, those are our rows for adding length. And it is important to know how many stitches you have pretty much at all times. So anytime I'm making this, I'm just constantly counting my stitches, making sure that they match up with the pattern. The last stitch of each row can be a little bit tight, so just make sure you get under both of the loops. And that was row 11. Now I am going to do row 12 and row 13 off camera again. I'll meet you back here for part 4. So to finish off part 3, we're going to add our 3rd stitch marker to the last stitch that we just worked. So part 3 is now complete. We're going to move on to part 4. So we start with the chain 1, turn your work, start with an increase in this first stitch. There we go, 2 stitches. Our last increase row, we did 1 half double crochet in the next 9 stitches. So for part 4, we're going to do 1 half double crochet into the next 11 stitches. We are currently at the middle 2 stitches again, so we are going to increase in both stitches. 1, 2, 1, 2. We're going to now do 1 half double crochet into the next 11 stitches, which will leave us with 1 last stitch. We have 1 more stitch, and for the last stitch we do the exact same thing that we did for the first and the middle. We increase. There we go. We started row 14 with 26 stitches, but we are now ending it with 30 stitches. So that was row 14. Now it's time to do row 15, 16, and 17. And as we've been doing, those are simply rows of half double crochet, 1 in each stitch, just adding length. I'm going to do this off camera so that I can make this video a little bit quicker because I can see it getting very, very long. So let's complete part 4 by adding in our stitch marker. So now we're on to part 5. Part 5 consists of row 18 to row 21. One row is a increase row, like we've been doing, first stitch, 2 middle stitches, and then the last stitch. And then we have 3 more rows of just regular half double crochet just to add length. By the end of row 18, you will have a total of 34 stitches. Let's begin. Increase, and then the next 13 stitches is regular half double crochet. And then we increase in our 2 middle stitches. Then we do 1 half double crochet into the next 13 stitches, leaving us with 1 last stitch. Now in our last stitch, we increase again. So that was the first row of part 5, row 18, our increase row. Now you're going to go ahead and do your 3 regular half double crochet rows to add length. And don't forget to place your stitch marker on the last stitch that you work of row 21, so you know where part 5 ends, and I'll see you for the first round of part 6. Part 6 will consist of row 22, 23, 24, and 25. Row 22 will be our increase row. Row 23, 24, and 25 will be our regular half double crochet rows for length. By the end of row 22, we will have a total of 38 stitches. So our first stitch, we increase, and then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 15 stitches. Now we increase into the next 2 stitches. And place 1 half double crochet into the next 15 stitches. And then we increase in the last stitch. So now you should have a total of 38 stitches. You can go ahead and do your 3 regular half double crochet rows for length, and don't forget to place your stitch marker on the last stitch of the 25th row to indicate the end of part 6, and I will see you for part 7. Part 7 will consist of the rows 26, 27, 28, and 29. So as we've been doing, row 26 will be an increase row, and then rows 27, 28, and 29 will be our regular half double crochets for length. By the end of row 26, you will have a total of 42 stitches. Let's begin. We increase in the first stitch, and then place 1 half double crochet into the next 17 stitches. Then we increase into the next 2 stitches. And again, we do 1 half double crochet into the next 17 stitches, leaving us with 1 remaining stitch. And then we increase into our last stitch. That was row 26. Now you can go ahead and do your 3 rows for length. And don't forget to place your stitch marker to indicate the end of part 7. And I'll see you at the beginning of part 8. Part 8 will consist of row 30, 31, 32, and 33. So we have our increase row and then our 3 rows where we add length. And by the end of this row, we will have a total of 46 stitches. So let's begin. Increase in the first stitch. And then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 19 stitches. Then we increase in the 2 middle stitches. And now we place 1 half double crochet into the next 19 stitches, which will leave us with 1 stitch remaining. And then we increase in our last stitch. So that was row 30. We now have 46 stitches. Now you can go ahead and add your length, so your 3 rows of regular half double crochets. And don't forget at the end of row 33 to place your stitch marker on the last stitch that you worked, so that you know where part 8 ends. I will see you for part 9. Part 9 will consist of rows 34, 35, 36, and 37. So we increase and we add length. By the end of this row, we will have a total of 50 stitches. Let's get started. So we increase in the first stitch. And then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 21 stitches. Now we increase in the 2 middle stitches. Then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 21 stitches, which will then leave us with 1 stitch remaining. And then we increase in the last stitch. So that was row 34. We now have a total of 50 stitches. You can go ahead and do your 3 half double crochet rounds where we're just adding length. And don't forget to add your stitch marker at the end of round 37 on the last stitch that you worked. That way we can tell where part 9 ends. I'll see you at the beginning of part 10. Part 10 will consist of rows 38, 39, 40, and 41. So we have our increase row and then our 3 rows to add length. By the end of this row, you will have a total of 54 stitches. We'll begin by increasing in the first stitch. Then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 23 stitches. And then we increase in the 2 middle stitches. And now we place 1 half double crochet into the next 23 stitches, which will leave us with 1 stitch remaining. And then we increase in our last stitch. So that was row 38. We now have a total of 54 stitches. And now you can go ahead and do your 3 rows of just plain half double crochets to add length. And don't forget to place a stitch marker on your last stitch that you work in the row 41 to mark where part 10 ends. I will see you at the beginning of part 11. Part 11 will consist of rows 42, 43, 44, and 45. So we increase and then we add length. We currently have 54 stitches, but by the end of our increase row, row 42, we'll have a total of 58 stitches. So let's begin. We start with an increase in the first stitch, then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 25 stitches. And then we increase in the next 2 stitches, the 2 middle stitches. And then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 25 stitches, which will leave us with 1 stitch at the end. And then we increase in our last stitch. So that was row 42, our increase row. You should now have a total of 58 stitches. Now you can go ahead and add your 3 rows of half double crochets for length. Don't forget to add your stitch marker on the last stitch that you work of row 45 to indicate where part 11 ends. I'll see you at the beginning of part 12. Part 12 consists of rows 46, 47, 48, and 49. So we increase and then we add length. We currently have 58 stitches, but by the end of our increase row, row 46, we will have a total of 62 stitches. So we increase in the first stitch, and then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 27 stitches. And then we increase in the 2 middle stitches. And then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 27 stitches, leaving us with 1 stitch remaining. and then we increase in our last stitch. That was row 46, so you should now have a total of 62 stitches. Now you can go ahead and do your 3 rows for length. Don't forget to place your stitch marker on the last stitch that you work of row 49 to indicate where part 12 ends. I'll see you for the beginning of part 13. Part 13 consists of rows 50, 51, 52, and 53. So we increase and then we add length. We currently have 62 stitches. By the end of our increase row, row 50, we will have a total of 66 stitches. We start with an increase in the first stitch. And then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 29 stitches. And then we increase in the 2 middle stitches. Then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 29 stitches, which will leave us with 1 stitch remaining. And then we increase in our last stitch. So that was row 50. You should now have a total of 66 stitches. Now you can go ahead and do your 3 half double crochet rows for length. Don't forget to add your stitch marker to indicate where part 13 ends. And I'll see you for part 14, where we do our final rows of increases. Part 14 consists of rows 54, 55, 56, and 57. So we increase and then we add length. We currently have 66 stitches, but by the end of our increase row, row 54, we will have a total of 70 stitches. Also, this is going to be our last 4 rows of the first section. After this part, we won't have to do any more increases and we'll be able to move on to section 2. So let's get started. We begin by placing 2 half double crochets into the first stitch. Then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 31 stitches. Now we place 2 half double crochets into the 2 middle stitches. And then we place 1 half double crochet into the next 31 stitches, leaving us with 1 stitch remaining. And then we place 2 half double crochets into our last stitch. So that was row 54. You should now have a total of 70 stitches. You can go ahead and do your 3 rows of half double crochets as normal to add length, and then I will meet you back here to show you what to do next. Okay, so I just completed all of my rows for part 14. Just before we move on, don't forget to put your stitch marker on the last stitch that you just worked. The stitch markers aren't absolutely necessary. If you're really good with counting and you don't mind counting all of the different parts in the different rows, then good on you. I don't have that kind of patience though, and with my ADHD, I get way too distracted way too easily, and then I spend far too much time counting. So I just find it a whole lot easier to have the stitch markers. It's less counting, less stress on my brain. So at this point, you should have a nice long piece. I love this pattern. I think it just works up so nicely. Okay, so if you're not sure if this is going to fit you or not, you think that you might possibly need it to be bigger, then my suggestion is to kind of try it on, just to see if the measurements are good for you or if you possibly need to add another increase. You just open it up, and this back part here should be at the back of your head. And then see if these two corners here, these two ends, see if they touch your temples. If they touch your temples, or they're even a little bit further out than your temples, you're good. If you feel like it's not even close to your temples and it's still within your hairline, then you can definitely go ahead and add one extra part of increases. So do one more row where you increase in the first stitch, the 2 middle stitches, and the last stitch. Then you can go ahead and add your 3 rows for length. Then you can move on to the next section. But if you feel like it fits you well, it fits you perfectly, then you are good to go and we can start the next section. So let's do that. So for section 2 of the pattern, we are shaping the head / adding length and decreasing. So what we're going to do now is 6 more rows of simple half double crochets, no increases, no decreases, nothing. You will have 70 stitches for all 6 of these rows. So at the end of row 63, place a stitch marker onto the last stitch that you worked. Then we will move on to the decreases / shaping of the head. But I just want to note here, if you are someone who had to add another part of increases, your numbers are going to be just a little bit off. So you'll have your increase row and your 3 rows for length. And then for this section here, section 2, you're not going to do 6 rows of half double crochet. You'll be doing 3 rows of half double crochets. I hope that makes sense. I am going to do these rows off camera because there's nothing new to really show you. And I will meet you back here for the decreases. Happy crocheting. Okay, so I just finished adding my 6 rows of length. And as you can see here from this stitch marker, the end of part 14 of our increases, up to this stitch marker, there is no curve to it. It just goes straight up. And that's exactly what we want. That's because we didn't increase at all. So we just had 70 stitches for those 6 rows. Perfect. Very happy with that. Now we will move on to shaping the head. We want to create a curve so that it'll fit the contour of a human head. So before I start the decreases, I'm just going to give you a couple of notes. We will decrease by a total of 16 stitches over the next 4 rows. In other words, we will be decreasing by 4 stitches each row for the next 4 rows. Okay, so for our first row of decreases, you're going to place 1 half double crochet into 31 stitches. If you are someone who had to add another part of increases and you have 74 stitches, not 70, then you will need to place a half double crochet into 33 stitches. So now what we're going to do is we're going to decrease 2 stitches together 4 times. So that'll be the next 8 stitches. We're going to decrease it down to 4 stitches. So the way we're going to do that is yarn over, pull up a loop, and then go through the second stitch, pull up another loop, and then crochet them all together as normal. That's 1 decrease. We're going to do that 3 more times. That's 2 decreases. That's 3 decreases. And that's 4 decreases. So you're going to notice it's going to start to like bunch up a little bit. That's okay. It's what we want. And now we just want to place 1 half double crochet into the rest of the stitches, which should be 31. Again, if you did another increase, it'll be 33 for you. So that was our first row of decreases. Before we move on to the next row, you can just fold it back and you'll see we are starting to create that little curve, even just with 1 row of decreases. All right, so for row 2 of the decreases, we are going to place 1 half double crochet into 29 stitches, and then we'll meet up for the decreases. And for anyone who had to add another part of increases, you'll be doing 31 stitches. Okay, so now it is time to do our decreases over these next 8 stitches and go from 8 stitches to 4. So yarn over, pull up a loop, pull up another loop, yarn over and pull through all of the loops on your hook. That's 1 decrease. We're going to do that 3 more times. That's 2 decreases. That's 3 decreases. And that's 4 decreases. So now again, you're going to place 1 half double crochet into the remaining stitches, which should be 29 stitches. But if you had to increase 1 extra time, then for you it will be 31 stitches. So that was the second row of decreases. Again, you can see the curve taking shape even more. So I know I forgot to say it after the first decrease round, but after the first decrease round, you will have a total of 66 stitches. And then after the second decrease round, the one that we just did, you'll have a total of 62 stitches. And for anyone who had to add an extra part of increases, after row 1 of the decreases, you will have a total of 70 stitches. And then after the second row, you will have a total of 66 stitches. Now we're going to move on to row 3 of decreases. So for the original pattern, you will place 1 half double crochet into 27 stitches. And for anyone who had to add another increase, you will place 1 half double crochet into 29 stitches. All right, so we are going to decrease again by 4 stitches over the next 8 stitches. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull up a second loop, yarn over, and pull through all of the loops on the hook. That's 1 decrease. That's 2 decreases. That's 3 decreases. And that's 4 decreases. Again, you're going to notice it's getting super bunchy over here, but that's okay. Once we fold it again and place it down flat, it will be flat. So we are going to again place 1 half double crochet into all of the remaining stitches, which should be 27 or 29 if you added an extra increase. So that was our third round of decreases. By the end of this round, you will have a total of 58 stitches. And if you had to add another increase, you will have a total of 62 stitches. Now we will do our fourth and final row of decreases. So you're going to place 1/2 double crochet into 25 stitches. And if you had to add another increase, then you will be placing 1/2 double crochet into 27 stitches. All right, now we will decrease by 4 stitches over the next 8 stitches. So we yarn over, pull up a loop, pull up a second loop, and then yarn over and pull through all of the loops on your hook. That's 1 decrease. That's 2 decreases. That's 3 decreases. And that's 4 decreases. Now we're going to place 1/2 double crochet into the next 25 stitches. And if you had to add an extra increase, then you're going to be placing 1/2 double crochet into the next 27 stitches. And then we'll be able to move on to our final row. Okay, so that was row 4 of our decreases, and that was the final row of decreases. So you will have a total of 54 stitches. If you made a slightly bigger size with an extra increase, then you will have a total of 58 stitches. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to do 1 row, just 1/2 double crochets, no increases, no decreases, just to finish off the top of the head, and then we will seam it together. So you can go ahead and do your row of 1/2 double crochet, and then I'll come back so we can do the seaming together. Now it's time to seam the top part together. Right now we have the right side facing out and the wrong side on the inside. So to seam it together, we don't want to do it on this side because then you'll see the top seam and it just won't look as clean. So we're going to flip this inside out. So here we go, it's inside out now. I'm just going to turn this puppy around. To make it a little bit easier for ourselves, still do your chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch all of these stitches together, taking our hook, going underneath both loops of that first stitch, and then finding the corresponding stitch on the other side, and going through both of those loops as well. Then you're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the first loop. Your first slip stitch is complete. Those 2 stitches are now seamed together. We're going to do the same thing 26 more times, or 28 if you made a larger size. We're going to do that all the way until the end. You don't want your stitches to be too tight because you don't want the top of the towel to kind of warp. Once you've completed your final slip stitch, you can go ahead and chain 1, tighten that down, take your scissors, give yourself a bit of a tail so you can weave it in. These scissors are not great. Once you've cut your yarn, you can pull that through. And then you can kind of start stretching it out a little bit, shape it just a little. You can go ahead and weave in your end right away, but I always get excited and I want to see it first. And there you go. It's a nice clean seam. And there we are. So that's the foundation of the towel, that's the base of it, done. So now I would suggest going ahead and weaving in your ends. Well, you don't really have to weave in this one yet if you don't want to, because we are going to be doing a border and you can hide it within that. It's up to you though. If you want to reinforce your magic circle from where we started, that's also a great idea. It's up to you. The base / foundation of the towel complete. Give yourself a pat on the back, because if you made it this far, you are a champ. Before we continue, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so glad that you are here and that you took an interest in this pattern, in my pattern, and just thank you so much. You being here means the absolute world to me. Okay, before I start blubbering, I am going to take out all of these markers. We don't need them anymore. And then the next step will be to begin the border. I will see you for that. We are now on the final section of the towel, which is the border. So we're going to do a single crochet border. We're going to do 3 rounds of that. And on the 3rd round, we are also going to attach the elastic. You can really start the border anywhere. You just need to connect your yarn. I usually do this at around row 8 or so. So I'm going to start with this spot right here. And I'm going to attach my yarn. So I'm just putting it onto my hook, pulling it through, and then I'm going to yarn over with my working yarn and pull tight. I am going to weave in this end at the same time, so I will be holding that. So you should have a total of approximately 206 stitches once you've gone all the way around the towel. If you have a bit more or a bit less, that's okay, as long as you don't have so many less stitches that the towel is beginning to be pulled in by the border, and as long as the 2 sides are equal and they're matching up nicely when you fold it down again. I hope that makes sense. So with that, let's get started. So you don't want to place your stitches too low down or too far apart. You want them to be, I guess, as natural as possible. So wherever it feels right to place the next one, do it that way. In the written pattern, I do have a few photos that show which spaces I place my stitches in. It's like a helpful little guide, but it's not exactly where they need to be, you know? Whatever feels the most natural. If you feel like it's becoming too tight, pull it back, skip a space, do what you gotta do. Like, I'm not gonna go into this one right here. It feels like it's too far down, so I'm just gonna go into the next one there and continue on. You can see like it doesn't look like it's bunching together because it's too tight, but it also doesn't look like it's like creating almost like a circle because it's too many stitches close together. Again, I hope that makes sense. And then to help with your counting, what I usually like to do is every 50 stitches, I'll just place a removable stitch marker. So I just got to the end of the round. So I ended up with 200 stitches, not 206. So like I said, really it doesn't matter as long as everything lines up nicely. So like I said, I'm at the end of this round, but I'm not going to slip stitch into the first stitch. I'm just going to continue on. So there we go. That's my first single crochet of this round, because now we are actually working in rounds. Again, I apologize for interchanging rounds and rows so much in this pattern, but I don't even notice myself doing it. And then when I'm editing, I'm just like, oh no. I just feel so silly. But anyway, I'm going to do another round off camera, and then I will show you what to do for the third round, because the third round is where we are going to attach the elastic. The second round is just another round of single crochets. So I'll see you in just a moment. Before starting round 3 of the border, I just want to show you where we're going to be attaching the elastic. You can figure out where you're going to be putting your elastic by counting, and in the written pattern I have stitch numbers and everything written down. I did all of that for you already, but I wanted to show you a quicker way. Okay, so if you're looking at where we started the towel, here is our magic circle. This is where we started. So whatever stitch that you created in this circle for the border, that's your middle. So let's just put that there for a second. And we want to attach our elastic over 9 stitches. So that's 1, and then we go outwards. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Makes sense? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Another way you can do it is we have our middle right here, and then we know that we need 4 on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You can place your stitch marker on that 4th one. And then again, you can count from the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we're going to do now is you're going to continue on with the border, start round 3, and then once you get to 1 stitch before where you want to place your elastic, I will meet you back here and we will attach it together. Time to attach the elastic. It's actually pretty easy, so let's get started. I'm going to take out my first stitch marker, so I'm going to put my hook into that stitch. I'm going to take my elastic and place that so that my hook is going through it and my yarn is behind. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. So now you can see that we do already have it kind of attached. So we're going to complete this single crochet by yarning over and pulling through 2. Okay, so we're going to go into the next stitch, but this time we're going to go under the hair elastic. Grab the yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have 2 single crochets holding it together. It may look a little funny on the back, but we'll fix that. So now we're going to do our 3rd stitch. Again, the same thing. You're going under the elastic. And then when you grab your yarn to pull through 2, you're going through the elastic, through the middle of the elastic. So into the stitch, under the elastic, yarn over and pull through, and then through the elastic, yarn over and pull through 2. Next stitch, under the elastic, yarn over, pull through the elastic, yarn over, pull through 2. So you're going to do that until you have a total of 9 stitches holding your elastic there. So I'm going to go through that last stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, then go through the elastic, yarn over, and pull through 2. There we go. That's what the inside looks like, and that's what the outside looks like. So now all you have to do is just tug on it a little bit, and then everything looks a lot cleaner on the inside. It just kind of cinches it in. So now we just need to finish our 3rd round. So we need to get to our first stitch marker, and the way we continue is exactly as you would think. Just continue as normal, pretending like the elastic isn't there. And then once you've come up to your last stitch, you can go ahead and do your single crochet, And then here is our first stitch of the round. I am just going to slip stitch into it. So then I'm just going to slip stitch. There we go. And if you'd like to give it a bit of a neater look, a cleaner look, you can slip stitch a couple more times into a couple more stitches. Then you can grab your scissors and cut yourself a bit of a tail. Once you've cut the yarn, you can just pull this up and through. Now you're going to take your regular darning needle that you use to weave in your ends, and you're going to use the invisible method to weave this one in. If you don't know what that is, I will show you right now. So you can see that this is the stitch that we slip stitched through. So we're going to go over one stitch and go under both loops. And we want to go from the right side to the wrong side. Cool. And then to finish this off, we're then going to take our needle, again, skip the stitch that we slip stitched through, and go into our last stitch, just right in the middle, and out that back leg. And then you can just kind of tug at it a little bit, tighten it, loosen it, and that's your invisible join. And now you can go ahead and weave it into the wrong side. Once you're done weaving in your end, you can take your darning needle off and cut your yarn as close to your project as you can. And then just give it a little tug, and that's its new home. And there we go. There is a bit of a bump here, but in the grand scheme of things, you really can't see it. So we have our elastic attached, our border is done, and now all we need to do is attach the button. I like to place my button right up here. So before the border and kind of on that seam that we created when we seamed the top of the towel together. I'd say about right here. So you can see it's right before the border, but it's right at the end of the seam. So I'm just going to place this here just so I don't make any mistakes, because it has happened in the past where I ended up putting it like beside it and it just made zero sense. So that's that. As I said much earlier in the video, you can go ahead and use thread or you can use your yarn. I'm going to show you how to use your yarn. It's my preferred method. So give yourself a good long tail. Cut that piece of yarn, play with your yarn a little bit, mess it up a little. You can see that there are 4 strands. You just need 1. So just very gently take that apart. There we go. So I now have 1 strand. And if for whatever reason this one breaks or anything happens, I still have 3 more strands that I can use. So I am going to go ahead and thread this through my sewing needle. Okay, so I have threaded my yarn through my sewing needle. Actually, this is the second time that I'm filming sewing the button on, so I already have the stitch marker off, but yeah, we're going to be fine. We're going to get through this. Okay, so I start by going from the wrong side up to the right side, then place my needle through the button, but make sure that this thread here isn't going to come out. And then I go back from the right side, back to the wrong side. And then before continuing sewing, I'm just going to create a knot here so that I already have a bit of stability. So then I'm going to go up again, and I'm going to go through the buttonhole again. And then back down to the wrong side. And I'm going to do this one more time Sorry, I didn't pick the easiest button for you to be able to see, but we're working with what we've got. And then back to the wrong side. And then again, I'm going to create another knot with these two. And then to stabilize the button even further, I'm going to go up to the right side again, and then take my yarn or my thread, whatever you're using, and go around like this. I believe I just do it like 5 times, and it helps to just keep everything in place. Then going back down to the wrong side, everything is nice and tight, but I'm not pulling too hard because I really don't want to break my yarn. And then I'm going to create 2 or even 3 knots to really, really keep that in place. See? It falls apart very easily, but as you can see, that button is not going anywhere. Now I'm just gonna weave in these little ends, and now give yourself another huge pat on the back, even a round of applause, because we're done. We are officially done. The hair towel is now complete. We have come to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you were able to follow it. It was easy, and I hope that you absolutely love your hair towel. If you did make one, please send me photos. I would love to see how they came out. If you want to have the written pattern to go along with this video tutorial, and you can find that on my Etsy. Again, the link will be down below in the description. I just want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and to everyone who asked me to create this video. I really appreciate it, and seeing people's comments and seeing people ask me to show them step by step how to do this, it makes my heart so happy. If you like the video, please give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye.